Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Neptunia Sisters vs. Sisters. This game is very fun. For those who don't know, I already recorded the other parts, and I've opted to record part 59 last, not for any reason in particular. It just has to do with the fact that, mistakenly, I forgot to record the audio for part 59. Looking into this series, there's a reason I decided to do post-commentary after Chapter 8. Not really because of any malice or any malcontempt with the system I was using before, but rather because of how long the walking was getting to be. I'm not kidding. Some of these dungeons in this game are bigger than entire games. To put it into perspective, the Chapter 11 dungeon, the floating island, you could probably fit every single victory map in there. If I'm wrong about that, please let me know, but I'm pretty sure that every victory map can fit into the floating island dungeon. In addition, the game industry graveyard dungeon is massive as well. For this series, you're going to be watching all three endings. I went out of my way to painstakingly get all the endings, and those are my two biggest complaints of this game. The way to get the true ending and the bad ending are tedious and boring. It's not even meticulous, it's just boring. What was that noise? Interesting. Meanwhile, the gameplay itself is really good. However, and you're actually going to hear me say this again in the final episode, although to a lesser extent, I think this game is too easy. If they gave this game a difficulty select, where the where the easy mode was every single hit makes enemies, how would I put it? Makes enemies flinch, and they do half damage. That'd be great. Then there's a normal mode, which is just the game as it currently is. There's a hard mode, which is pretty much you can't make enemies flinch, and you do half damage to enemies, and enemies do twice the amount of damage they do on normal mode. This calculation will also be done for normal mode, in terms of how much damage you do to the enemies. And then finally, a new game plus difficulty that I'm going to call, because I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh fan, the Super Expert mode. And in this Super Expert mode, the way I would balance it would be, pretty much you can only get it on New Game Plus, just so that your characters are high enough level and have access to every single combo you can get. And the way it'll work is you can't stun enemies like in hard mode, but the other addition would be taking a minute from Sonic Frontiers, make it so that if the enemy just hits you one time, it's an immediate game over. And that's why it's a Super Expert mode, because I want the challenge mode that you can only get after beating the game to be hard. If we could do that, if we had those four options in a Neptunia game, I'd be down. And it would also work because the Super Expert mode could only be obtained after New Game Plus, meaning that the hard mode would be the way I would play this. The normal mode would be Neptunia as everyone likes, and the easy mode would be for people that think Neptunia is too hard. That way more people can play. And it won't actually be that difficult. All you would have to do is tweak some numbers. You don't even have to change the level caps or anything like that. Just make it so on easy you do double damage and the enemies do half. Normal is the same. Hard is you do half and enemies do double, and you can't flinch them. On easy mode you can always flinch them, and then Super Expert would be the exact same as hard, but one hit equals death. Now moving on to the actual story. I am showing some battles off here, but continuing with the trend from before, we are going to be using speed ups. Mostly because you actually will see this dungeon again in the final episode when I go through the true ending route, which does require me to go through here again, simply because I made the conscious decision to not show everything off here and in the game industry graveyard. Yes, you do go back to the game industry graveyard. If you think we're going to play a Nepgear centered game without the game industry graveyard, you're out of your mind. And It's sped up because this dungeon is massive. Okay, it's genuinely, how would I put it? It's epic, right? It's an epic design because it's big. But at the same time, there's no run button in this game. If you could move faster, so if they just doubled the walking speed, I wouldn't mind it. Now, I do like the bigger map, don't get me wrong. I do like that they can use the engine to make a long walking area. It does make the journey seem more arduous. I just wish they can move faster, because these are supposed to be like above human level characters. So I don't think they should be held to the constraints of human with magic. I think they should be higher than that. Because we're playing as the candidates here. At the end of the day, they're supposedly goddess characters, or candidates for console patron units. Actually, do they even call themselves console patron units in this game? I'm pretty sure they just call themselves goddesses. Interesting. In addition, I think that the speed up function, while not applicable completely to the Rebirth 3 Let's Play, which will be coming back very soon, although that'll have to wait till the update to Sonic Frontiers Let's Play, which will be the extreme difficulty walkthrough. For those of you who don't know, there's a difference between a walkthrough, a playthrough, a Let's Play, and a commentary. A commentary is the game is in the background, and you just talk about it or other topics. A channel that does that really well, and I think has some really good commentaries, are Brain Scratch commentaries. Check them out. They have a really good Mega Man 3, Mega Man 2, Sonic 06, Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Frontiers Let's Play as well. Not Let's Play, commentary as well. If you want Let's Plays, typically live, you can do those as a stream or as episodic videos. Those would be, well, Ethos Lab has a really good Minecraft one, and the Super Gaming Brothers, back when they were active, had a really good, well, they had a lot of really good ones actually. Metal Gear Solid was really good. I guess the modern Let's Plays would be streams. So, if I had to recommend any modern Let's Play, it would probably be, I'm going to assume they're all English speakers, so I would put, interestingly enough, it would be Ethos Lab for Minecraft. Then there's the Super Gaming Brothers. I think they have a really good Lost Levels one. And there's more. I'm just trying to think of who else did Let's Play. And if we're using the stream logic, then I think Homu Rain Puff for Metal Gear. I know she does other content, but I think her Metal Gear Let's Plays are, well, her Metal Gear streams, which I'm going to qualify as Let's Plays, are extremely good.
If you don't want me past you, then you need to go faster.
Then for like walkthroughs, which are typically guides, usually done in post-commentary, but not required to be post-commentary. And instead of trying to be super entertaining with the game, the walkthroughs exist to provide some sort of guide to finish the game itself, for people who think it's too hard in certain aspects. Hokey who is really good with the Halo walkthroughs. That's an example of one. And then finally there's playthroughs slash long play. Playthroughs would be just the game from beginning to end. You're playing through it, usually in one sitting. And I know technically speedruns count as this, but we're not counting speedruns because you're usually not doing it for any form of competition. And those can be with or without commentary, usually done to show off the new game, typically in one sitting. I originally wanted this to be just a pure Let's Play, but as the scheduling continued, I learned a lot. And I learned a lot. And the thing I learned the most was that I spent multiple parts of this game just walking. Straight up walking. I think it was most egregious when I was doing side quests, and I would spend three or four parts in the same exact area. Therefore, I congratulate you. If you actually sat through this entire Let's Play, thank you very much. Genuinely, thank you very much if you sat down through the entire Let's Play. And the shift to making this series a commentary, a post-commentary series, was not one I wanted to do, because recording live for a Let's Play is way easier.
No! This is my chance.
Now, there's another category called highlights. DV Geek has some really good Halo highlights. Some people actually did highlights of Let's Plays. For example, Lion Eats Noobs made really good highlights of Brain Scratch commentary.
Just check the map.
And Find the Computer Room and the Super Gamer Brothers. Yeah, I watched a lot of Some Call Me Johnny growing up.
Yeah.
At this point in the video, I've decided to
Are you
cut
tired?
out and
How about you-
go here because I figured I was going to show the dungeon in a later part, and also due to the fact that, how do I say it? It was getting long, even with all the speed ups. I mean, it's already 10 minutes, and most of that was sped up footage at ×8 speed. And even then, there was also cuts because I also went in circles again, like I did in the dungeon from an earlier part. And that is why I opted to do the speed up post commentary system, because this game is long and it has a lot of backtracking. A lot of backtracking. Do I think that makes the game bad? No. And the backtracking is really only egregious, only really a problem after Chapter 8. For the first 7 chapters, it's hardly noticeable, it's honestly fine, and the gameplay is so fun that I didn't care. The only reason I care now is because this dungeon, these last 2 dungeons, because there's only 2 more dungeons left, are extremely long. You might count the 3rd dungeon, but because there's 1 more dungeon for the true ending, but that dungeon is a straight line, so I'm not even going to count it. I mean, you can explore it, you can go through it, and you will learn that there's a lot to see, but we were already there in the Let's Play, so there was no reason to.
Where are we?
Now enjoy this musical number.
What a thrill. I'm searching and I'll melt into you. What a fear in my heart, but you're so supreme. I give my life, not for honor, but for you.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. I thought it was too funny when I was actually playing it. I started humming it to myself, and I figured maybe there's a reason I hummed it to myself.
Looks like I
Now, for some reason, I think I forgot to do a speed up here. No, I didn't. It's just that I wanted you to be able to read the top left. Effectively, at this point in the story, they're looking for the Gehaburn, the only thing that can kill R4. Which makes me question... I do like that the Gehaburn is brought back, because R4 was brought back. A big complaint that people had was that it lacked jokes, this game. But I actually really appreciated it.
If you're
Don't get me
ever
wrong,
lost,
Neptunia
I should
is
tie up.
partially a comedy series, and it is very funny when it actually isn't trying to be funny. When it's trying to be funny, I don't think Neptunia is that funny. In fact, I think Neptunia works best when it's taking itself seriously. I know it's technically a parody series. However, the thing it's parodying
Let's save it here.
the console war.
Jump!
Well, they haven't really parodied it since the first game, and Rebirth 1 and Reverse. But even then, those are all the same game with a different coat of paint. Now, Maho's saying that's weird before. That's because at the end of the game, it's revealed that these two Maho are actually the exact same people, just
They may
stuck
be
at a
strong,
different point in
But
time.
if we fight like we always
So in
do,
other words,
we'll
we
be
got
fine.
a disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya video
more time for
scenario where, while Kyon was sleeping on Mikuru Asahina's lap,
Die.
the other Kyon was at the same time saying he's so lucky, saying I gotta go find Nagato, the only person that could finish that. And now I realize I've dated myself even harder than I already have. considering that came out in 2009, that puts me in 2023, late 2023. Years behind. That is a 14-year-old reference, guys.
You want some more?
Couldn't believe it when I said that. It's 14 years old. The movie's 14 years old. Shit, I remember when it was new. Whatever. So this is what I mean by I don't think you should be allowed to stun bosses. The fact that you can stun bosses means you can lock them, and in fact, I make really short work of the second to last Maho encounter. It is too easy. And R4 herself, I mean, I do like that we fight her over and over again. It gives her a presence, kind of like in the original game, where you fought her a lot of times. The only problem is she's not the final boss. I mean, she's the final boss story-wise, but you're not really fighting this character. You're fighting R4 controlling Maho, which is a third Maho for other intents and purposes. But look, this game's been out since 2021 Japan, 2023 US, January, and this episode's coming out in December. If you haven't caught up, then sorry. I'm not going to preface this with a spoiler. You're watching a Let's Play on a game that's multiple months old. It's like that one time where my cousin was reading, I think he was reading Romeo and Juliet for his high school class. And I told him the ending. And he said to me, spoilers? Spoilers. It's a 400-year-old play. And now that I say that out loud, I have to ask myself, how old is the story of Romeo and Juliet? Because it does create Shakespeare. As it started with Romulus. It was an adaptation of Romulus. Therefore, I really want to know how old that story
I'll
is.
get you next time.
And here you can see why I find this game too easy. It is just way too easy to overlevel. I'm in
This
the
body is reaching
80s,
its limit.
and yet
It's time to
this
dump
R4
it.
here was what, 59, I think?
She's going to switch bodies.
Either,
Don't let
or
her.
was it 65? I don't remember. But
We'll
honestly,
hold
I
her
just think it
down.
was a joke.
Do you
Not
really think you can?
anything too hard. Still, it was fun though. Okay, that is the thing.
soldiers are forming a wall.
I can understand and even
get out of
appreciate
my
a really
way.
easy game if it's fun, and that this game did really well. But if your game is hard
The
and
numbers are
fun,
increasing.
that's
Will
even
we
better.
be able to get through them?
Oh, I think at this point they weren't being voiced.
Much
Oh no,
like
they were
this
being voiced.
body, they are expendable, worthless pieces
Okay,
of
truthfully,
trash. However, they should be able to
I
slow
liked
you
the
down a
story of
bit.
this game.
Just
but
you wait until I obtain the body of
After
a
sitting
goddess.
through all three endings
Shall we
and having
proceed
to
with
do the
fusion?
exact same things
Don't
over and
worry,
over again,
You will not perish.
I
Our
got so
souls
sick
will
of Maho.
simply share a vessel.
You know,
don't
I get it.
care.
She's the new
Just
character.
hurry
They
it
gotta
up.
show her off in this game, kind of like how they showed off Uzume. But Uzume wasn't
Other
annoying.
me.
Plutia wasn't
Is
annoying.
this
She
what
was
you
just a
really
rapist.
want?
And Nepgear was
Hey.
awesome.
If you keep
Okay.
this up, you really will
Nepgear,
be
I
coming back
don't
up.
even get why they called her a bland
Try
protagonist.
to
Nepgear is one of the
remember.
best protagonists in the
Remember what
series.
you
In
really
fact, I would argue
wanted.
she's a better protagonist than Neptune.
I already do.
But then again, if we're talking about the Japanese
There's
version, then I
nothing I can
just
do
don't like
about it
Neptune. I
now.
think Neptune's annoying.
Farewell,
Hey,
my old
sorry.
temporary body.
I think her name is Ria Tanaka. I have nothing against her. I just think that the character they made her, the character that she voiced, isn't that good in the Japanese version. Although, interestingly enough, I think Rom is superior in the Japanese version. And I also think that Uni and IF are better. But in the dub, I like Kampa and Nepgear a hell of a lot more. And Neptune is even salvaged for me. I actually like Neptune's character in the English because she doesn't have that tone of voice. Again, I have nothing against Neptune's Japanese actress, so I don't even know her, but
I have been reborn
based on
once again.
what I know about the series, that's really what I think.
The other me. She
And
was taken
Vert will
over
never
by
be salvaged for me.
Arthur.
I genuinely don't like this character. They
Damn
could
it.
remove Vert from
We
the
got
series
so
and I would
close.
not care.
Oh my
I know other
goodness.
people would care because she represents the
This is
Xbox.
splendid.
So
Your pain is
there
like a
is some
sweet
form
elixir
of
to me.
history to it
Now let us begin.
that people like. But the thing is, again, they haven't really talked about the console war.
It is time to unleash
I
your
genuinely
true
miss when this
power.
game talked about the console war. At least Mark
You
II had to do
shall
something
sit
with
there
the consoles
helplessly
themselves. It
as
was
I
the
gain this new power.
the actual R4 chips, hilariously enough. Piracy, that's what I was trying to say. Victory was just saying, "Oh, hi, we're so old." Do you remember this reference? And that is an issue I had with Victory. To me, of the original trilogy, Victory is the weakest game in terms of story.
Taking this back.
In terms of gameplay,
Damn you, Ashen Goddess.
it's better than Mark II.
I was just waiting
But
for you
the
to
thing
let
is, it's
your
not
guard
that much
down
better
after
than
you
Mark
thought
II.
you
So
won.
I prefer Mark II as a game because I
Now
think the
that
story in
I
Mark
have
II is
the IS
superior.
crystal, you
Even if I
cannot
think the
gain its
representation,
power.
the presentation of the story
me.
is not as good.
Pray, sister.
I still stand by the best stories in this series are
So what?
the original
able to take it
Hyperdimension
back
Neptunia,
again.
not the remake, not Reverse, not Rebirth 1
You
Plus.
will never possess
The original
this again.
HD and
It will be
2010,
destroyed in the
2011
rightful
worldwide.
way. This should have never been
And
made.
then V2 has the second best story. I like the Uzume plotline, the Gold Third plotline, the
Destroy
shift
it.
period discussion.
I can take
All
it
of
back
that,
as often as
love
I'd
it.
like.
Steam Max Safi
Do
Mojax,
you think
great
you're
characters.
the only one who has gone back in time?
Then I would put Mark
What?
II.
What do you
Mark
mean?
II is a game that genuinely got me to feel sad for the characters. I didn't cry, but I did start to actually worry about the characters and wonder if they were gonna make it out, if they were gonna succeed. Now I know, in hindsight, they were gonna succeed. We were playing as them, and they come back in future games. But considering that the original Neptunia ended with Neptune dying, yeah, with everyone dying in the original Neptunia game,
It's you again.
and then having the second game be a reboot, I didn't know how they were gonna do the second game.
I
Thinking back in
did it,
hindsight,
everyone.
I should have known they were always winning
I'm
because
sorry.
I remember that
I
Victory's
think
down into Mark II, but I figured,
I'm done
oh, it could have
for.
just been a different dimension. Oh, and also,
Will I fall once more?
Nepgear falls,
Twice to
and
the
we get the
same
reveal
goddess.
that in the future,
What
our-
is that sword?
our little
It
protagonist
pierces not only
heroine
my
called
body,
Nepgear
but
offs
deals
herself.
such damage to my soul.
It was an interesting revelation,
I must go to the
although
the next
I
body
would have
where
liked,
my soul will
and
disintegrate.
I know a lot of people wouldn't, if when Nepgear went back in time,
Nepgear.
she encountered Conquest Nepgear,
Snap out of it.
and they had to fight.
Oh, how could you take
I
your
think
own
that would have been
life?
epic.
It's
Can you
her.
imagine kind of like Sonic
Perfect
fighting
timing.
Shadow?
I'll take her
Nepgear
body at the
fighting
first
Conquest
chance I
Nepgear
get.
and how their views on life were
It
different.
didn't work this time either.
That
You
would have
defeated
been
R4,
something I would
but
have
I
liked.
couldn't
Now,
keep
I know a
you
lot of
from
people would not have
dying.
liked that because it gets rid of the nuance of the
This
Conquest
time?
ending. But then again, they're one and the same, and the Conquest ending already
will return
exists
to the past
in how
again.
it is presented. It's technically
I
the
will
first
redo
game
this
in the
as many
timeline, although the
times
Conquest
as I
ending is
have
not
to.
canon. It would have been great
The
to make
Gahaburn.
one timeline
It's
of the
because
Conquest
of
ending
this
canon,
thing.
and then go back for the true ending of Mark II, which would justify all the grinding we did
There
because,
has to
oh
be
my
another
goodness,
way.
Mark II had
A
so
way
much
to
grinding.
save both Nepgear and the world. Otherwise, why did
And
I
here
go
we
back
have a
in
time
at
travel
all?
plot. I
Back in
mean,
time? What
it's
is
not
the
as good as
meaning
Chrono
of this?
Trigger.
What is she
Hell, I
doing?
even think Sonic 06 did it better.
Siri, how much
Even though a
energy
lot
can
of
be
people
used?
really don't like the Sonic 06 time travel plot,
Master,
I think
the
it's
share
not
energy
terrible.
collected by the
It's
Gahaburn
fine,
will
you can
allow for
follow it
one jump.
easily. But
Okay.
when someone
Let's
pokes
jump
holes in the story,
immediately.
yeah, I can see it. It's also a time travel
Understood.
story, and we don't actually know what would
Initiating
happen, so
process. ETA
it's also
40
fiction.
seconds
And
until
don't get me wrong, I'm
space-time
not going to use it as a
transfer.
defense. The story of Sonic 06 genuinely does
Time
have holes that
travel.
are problematic
Does that
for the
mean
concept
she
of the
knew
story.
everything from the start?
And while I don't
I
typically
won't let
like
you
using
have
that
your
word,
way.
I am using it
I
that
will
word
take advantage
correctly,
of this
given
chance.
that there's a problem in the story and those
Need a
holes
body,
exist that
anything,
demonstrate the problem.
Even if it's a monster or a bug.
I'm not using it to give some sort of social
I'll
commentary in
slip
any way.
into their time travel in order to survive.
And then Steins Gate is also a really good demonstration of time travel in a story. And I just don't think Neptunia did it
this is
amazingly.
the
I mean,
PC
the first time they
continent.
did it,
I
I think it's the
see.
first time they did it, was
So
in
this is how the
Super Neptunia
Ashen
RPG.
Goddess kept managing to return
That was
to
a
the
really good way to
past.
do it. But
I've
the way they did
returned
it
from
here,
near death and gained
it's okay.
new power. It is time
It's
to
nice.
resume the banquet of
It's easy to
destruction
follow.
and ruin.
it's not screwed up. So it's okay. And I don't mind it. How much
And
longer
that is
until
how
this
I
chapter
went to
ends?
meet
I'm
my
trying to remember.
past self and offered this.
I remember that
You
this
will lose to
conversation.
the goddesses and Nepgear once more.
The thing is, I watched
There
this
is a way
conversation
to
so many
avoid it.
times. If it
And
seems
I
like I'm not
won the
talking about the
wager
conversation
once more.
with complete and
I
utter
fused
enthusiasm,
with
it's because
myself
I'm
from
not.
this timeline, gaining more
After,
power.
because I was told a lie, by the way.
I allowed
The lie I was
Maho
told was
of
that
this timeline
what
to
determines
live
the
in
true
exchange
ending
for her labor.
is how many shares you
The
have at the
Arthone
start
Factory,
of
the
chapter
medium
11.
manipulation
That is
towards
not
the
true.
goddesses on
What determines the
Chopper,
true
and
ending
all the other
is
spy
how many
activities
shares
at
you have
Planetoon.
before
Everything went great.
the fake checkpoint.
thank you
So
for
the
that
first
Ashen
R4
goddess.
fight at the Game Industry Graveyard, where
Oh,
she's
no.
level 69.
It's because
If you
I
get there
brought
with less
R4
than
from the
30%
future
shares,
here.
you're going to get the bad ending. If you get there with 100% share, you're going to get the normal
honest,
ending.
It was a gamble.
And if you get there
but
with
I
exactly
won.
50, you're going to get
Big
the true
time.
ending. And
I
honestly,
also copied the functionality of your time machine.
it was nice.
Although it takes a little time to
I
prepare.
did like the R4 fight. I
can
had
go
to
the
actually fight
past
R4
again.
4 times, not 3, because I actually screwed up the true ending route one time.
Once
I ended up
return to the
going
past,
so
I
hard
can obtain
on
as
the
many
floating island
IS
dungeon
crystals as I
during my
want.
true ending attempt that
You'll never see it coming
I ended
when
up
I
going
kill you
from
all
50%
either.
shares to
This is
70.
the ultimate power.
So I had to reset and do all of this again. Which is why I
Villains
am
with time
somewhat
travel
sick
abilities?
of
A
these
boss like
cutscenes,
that
even
is
though I
no
think that the
fun.
cutscenes and the
They'd be
presentation are
impossible to ever
genuinely
beat.
really good.
On top of that,
It is going to be
she's
weird
just
going
to
back
switch
to
bodies every time
Rebirth
we
3.
defeat her. What a pain.
And don't get me wrong, I'm looking to get a capture card so that I can do the original Neptunia and Mark II, because I think those games are superior to their
it's not
remakes. I
over
don't think the
yet.
remakes are very
There's
good.
still a way to erase
I know a lot of
you.
people think Rebirth 1 is a really good remake,
Oh,
a really good
that
game, and a
sounds
really good introduction to the
interesting.
series, but
Go
in
ahead and
all
try.
honesty, I cannot recommend Rebirth 1 to anyone.
Great sister.
If you're going to start this series, I recommend you play
tell me
Mark
that-
II for your introduction, because that is
Your
the
body
basis
and
of the
mine
combat
are
system
one
that
and
we
the
all know.
same.
Then go to Victory,
that
then
case-
V2, then SBS, if you just want to
What
play
was
games
it?
that
Pair
matter.
annihilation
I
due to
mean, don't
the
get me wrong,
time
Cyber Dimension
paradox?
matters as well, because
But
there's
on the
nothing saying
flip
it's not
side,
canon.
It's possible that
Cyber
you will
Dimension could be
simply
classified as canon, but at the
absorbed
same
into me.
time, it would be the greatest
right.
filler of all time,
It's a
and I
gamble,
don't
like you
really
said.
think
But
Cyber
if we've
Dimension
got
4
the
Goddesses
slightest
Online
chance,
is that
I'm betting
good.
on it. You won't have your way.
It's just not my taste. I own the game, I played the game, but I'll do a Let's Play of it when I get the capture card, just so you guys can
Let's
see
who
my
will absorb
thoughts
who.
on it.
Or
But
perhaps
truthfully,
we'll both disintegrate.
if I had to rank it, I would
There
I would
you
rank
have.
it pretty low.
I will absorb you.
And I don't know if it's considered canon or not.
Storm.
This game has to be canon. If
happened
this game
back at
isn't
Planetar.
canon, then they're doing something wrong. This game is really good, and I really hope this is canon. Super Neptunia RPG is a game I wish I was canon, but it's not.
familiar.
It could have been
Doesn't it
a
resemble something?
prequel to the original Neptunia,
Is this-
but it doesn't fit with the
Seriously,
topography
why
of
did
Game
you
Industry,
take out your
therefore it wouldn't
gear?
matter. And it would not fit well. Now, if it was just the young CPU, I could get it. Maybe it's like the child Neptune.
There it is.
But that's not the case.
I knew the
And we
wavelength
know
of this
from
turbulence
canon
would match the trendy phenomenon.
that at the very least,
Hold on.
the Super
Then-
Net versions of the characters do not age at all.
Every time
And we
you
know
make
the Ultras don't
contact,
age, and that
something
the
similar to the trendy
Hypers don't
phenomenon
age as well,
occurs.
in terms of
You didn't
physical
realize
appearance.
that? The
But in terms
cause
of
the trendy
age,
phenomenon
as in
is
how long they've been
you.
alive, they're aging. They are aging. In fact, Neptune is
What
the
do you
world's most
mean?
attractive 80-year-old woman.
Every time you jump through time,
Well, 83.
you created time
And for anyone who's wondering where I'm
paradoxes.
getting that number from, go watch
You're a
Senpai
being
Blade's
who's
video.
out of their own time.
I'll probably put it
You're
a note
goddess
on top
rejected
right
by
now
the world.
that says like how old are the
Your
Neptunia characters.
existence
Or I might
creates
just put a
rift
link to it in the description.
space-time
I
that
don't
will
know.
destroy
Check the
everything.
description, guys. I actually put effort into that description. Check it out.
Going to destroy the world?
And this is where chapter 11
That's
ends.
right. The
They're just
trendy
talking about the
phenomenon
trendy phenomenon and the
trendy
time-space
disc are all
rift.
your handiwork.
Thinking back, this is
You are
probably...
the cause of everything.
You know which game
You'll
I think does
remember
this time-space
everything.
rift well?
Your sins.
And people think I'm
I'm the
crazy.
one
I think
creating
Sonic
the time
06
paradoxes.
End of the World mission is a really good
see.
mission with too
So
many load
I'm-
times. If you got rid of the load times, that mission would be freaking perfect for me. I like it a lot. I know that not everyone else
I'm
does, but I
Maho.
do.
I understand now.
Although learning that the password to transfer
Faster.
for the IS
Defensive
Crystal is
maneuver.
sisters was kind of odd
You're
because
wide open.
likely it would have just been sister to reference Greyheart, even though we've never seen Greyheart in a game. At least not at the time of this video's recording. Please note that
Oh no!
Game Maker Revolution is not out yet in the US or even Japan at the time of recording. In fact, in Japan,
No,
it
this
comes
is
out
fine,
in
Maho.
August, whereas
sure this
currently
will
it
get
is
through
July
to you.
28th at the time of recording.
Get through to me.
No, it's not. It's June 28th.
My head.
Even earlier.
Thank you for being my friend.
What did I think about the emotion of this scene? Well, honestly, I didn't really feel any emotion in this scene. I didn't think that it warranted any massive emotion. And if you're wondering, again, I think I'm just going to focus more on the commentary for these
Gray's
final
sister
parts
and
because I am
Zuri.
technically finished with the series.
They vanished.
I just think
They were
that,
smiling
well, I
in
do
the
like this
end,
game
weren't they?
and its tone and its writing. It
That
was just too easy.
Who knew?
Way too easy.
Into a dimensional rift that small.
Nah, maybe that's just me. Maybe other people found this game really freaking hard. I don't know.
More.
I don't really talk to other
You should
people
be
about
more
Neptunia
worried
because the
about
people who
yourself
play
than
Neptunia tend to
someone
stay to
who's already
themselves.
gone.
Unless they're already a big, massive channel, in which case they're all in on it. Completely all in on it. And they probably talk to each other, maybe they don't.
Uni.
Here they have the time-space rift, they gotta get out of there.
What's
And then
going on
Vert
here?
taking Ram. Blonde. Do you really want to put Vert
Space-time
on the
turbulence is
Loean
increasing. The Gehabard
government
is tearing
watch
a hole in
list
space.
with your
At
lawyers
this rate, it'll
and
swallow
legal
the island
team?
whole. We
No,
have
you
to get out
don't.
of here.
No, you freaking don't. I'm about to take a sip of coffee, by the way.
Graham, hang on. We're getting out of here.
Delicious.
Connect with me.
Connect with me. I know this. I know those words.
know
Yeah,
those
you do know those
words.
words. To transfer ownership to the Ice Crystal, there is one word.
Maho,
Sisters. That's all there is to it.
Mercy.
let's run, Maho.
Let's see what else. They have to get out of there, and then... What else is left in this part? Oh, we get to have another cutscene. That's the start of Chapter 12. And then we pretty much save after that. See on the bottom. On the bottom right, it says clear
going on
Chapter
here?
11.
The floating,
Floating
island.
Island.
It's turned completely black.
And then it just goes away. And you can no longer go to this dungeon, so if you missed out any item, too bad. If you didn't get a
Is this
certain
how
enemy
Thor's
for the
doing?
bestiary, in fact, I don't even think this game has a
This
bestiary.
is the game industry graveyard.
Does this game have a bestiary? As in,
Dangerous here.
a list of enemies
should return to
encountered
Planetune and
that
come up
you
with a
record in
plan.
somewhere. The original Neptunia had this, and it was the bane of 100% runs. It really was.
We can see
As you can see, the floating island from here. I'm glad that everyone is... Okay, okay, okay. I know exactly where we are.
Histy.
They're trying to plan,
What should
and
we
then...
do now?
Eventually they'll go back.
Arcor
We're gonna
has
go to the
taken the
Game
IS
Industry
crystal.
Island in the next part.
And Grey Sister is
And I
well.
really hope you enjoy the Game Industry Island
can
section as
time
well.
travel now,
Island.
too.
The Game Industry
Arbor's
Graveyard.
Sure got a lot of special abilities all at once.
I really wish R18
Someone should
Island made it into a
definitely
game. If we ever
nerf
get an
her.
M-rated Neptunia game, we gotta go to R18
Someone
Island.
should go and do that.
It has to be a thing.
Right now.
Okay, give us an M-rated
Anyway,
game.
the situation
Make
is
make
dire.
a.
We need a new plan.
You know what?
and
Give
quickly.
us the. Who would I
This
put
is
for the
bad.
M-rated
There are
Neptunia game?
reports that trendy outbreaks are occurring everywhere.
Make it the Ramen Ram game. Okay, make
Not
a
only
game
that,
that's
but
focused on Ramen
areas in
Ram.
the towns
Make
that
it
have a suppression
M-rated.
device set up are
No, they won't do
According
that
to
because
people
Sony
are
is a
being
bunch of
frozen.
pussies at this point. They would never do
Our
it.
Ford could be using the game industry graveyard to amplify the
Okay,
trendy
jokes aside,
phenomenon
one thing I
in
wish the
order to
series did
destroy
for the main
space-time.
series, for the canon main
At this
series,
rate,
was make
game
group
industry will-
games. So characters focused on groups
we
that
stop it?
you normally don't see. Okay,
It's okay.
we haven't had
There
a
is
Neptune
way.
IF and Compa game in so long.
Well?
I really wish we got another Neptune IF and Compa
sister.
adventure. V2
She
sort of
left
filled the
behind a
void by
blueprint
having
for a
the
modified
Neptune's Chapter B,
sealing device.
IF and Compa and herself,
With
referencing
this,
the
I'm
original
sure
game where
that-
those three were the main characters, and as a matter of
can
fact,
start
the
developing it
main
right
four,
away.
the other three CPUs, were seen as
can help.
antagonists throughout the
Just tell
adventure
me what
until
you
the end,
need.
where they eventually team up with Neptune.
Nepgear, your group can
And
focus on the
then-
device.
Or we can get a completely haphazard
Meanwhile,
group.
We'll split up
Say
and
we
go
get
help the other nations.
I don't know, Blonde, Neptune, and Uni game, just as an example. I think that would be really interesting. And this part is over, so take care. Have a nice day.